being able to speak Japanese fluently gave me access to people in Japan who couldn't speak English, and also I think created a certain level of comfort where I'd be able to participate in dinner discussions and so forth where everybody else was Japanese, and I didn't. The fact that I didn't stand out, and the fact that I could speak Japanese, made them more comfortable and more willing to, I think, speak what was on their mind. Uh, on the other hand, I would say though that there are some, negative aspects in the sense that I can give you a lot of examples. But when I was at USTR, uh, I would go to Japan, stay at the Hotel Okura, go to the U.S. Embassy, and then from the embassy go in cars to the Japanese Foreign Ministry for trade negotiations. And sometimes I would be the leader of the trade negotiations with several people from Washington and some from the embassy accompanying me. When we go into the foreign ministry entrance, there would be two guards, Japanese guards there. I was the only person who looked Japanese. And so the guards were sometimes, when the others passed by, and most of them were Caucasians, the guards would kind of recognize them. When they saw me, they said, "Kimi, kimi, doko ni ikuno? Toto, toto," as if I'm kind of some kind of a street person, who kind of wandered into this delegation. And that was interesting. And another thing that's really interesting is that when the Japanese officials would take us out to dinner, and for instance, there were several times when there would be three of us at the dinner: the deputy U.S. trade representative, my boss, ambassador level, undersecretary level person, and myself. And then there would be a person from the U.S. Embassy in Tokyo who, in terms of rank, was much lower than me, but was Caucasian. And so there'd be my boss sitting in the middle, and then I would be sitting in the far end, and then the person from the embassy, control officer, would be sitting near the entrance, right? So by position, it's very clear that my boss is the main guest. I'm the second highest ranking, and the person close to the door is the junior most person. Yet the waitress, usually it's a waitress, will always serve my boss, and then the third ranking person, and then me, because the assumption is, well, if he's Caucasian, he must be part of the delegation. This guy who looks Japanese, and his Japanese is good, he must be an interpreter, or maybe he's just kind of a guide or something. So I had many experiences like that. And I think for people, from Japanese Americans who haven't experienced that, it could be extremely frustrating. And I know of some Japanese Americans who had very, very negative views about Japan as a result of that. Back in those days, and certainly before my USTR experience, there would be times where Japanese Americans would complain that they would apply to teach English at English language schools and wouldn't be hired because their English and their education may be much better than the Caucasians, but they wanted the Caucasians because they looked foreign. And so looking foreign has a premium to it. You get a higher pay if you look blue-eyed, blonde-haired. And in fact, I mean, I would even go further and say that when I was chairman of the KO Stanford Exchange Program at KO at Stanford, after returning to Stanford, I noticed there were some letters in the files from students at KO University on the Japanese organizing committee that basically said, recently there have been, Japanese Americans who've been coming on this program. We really prefer you not send Japanese Americans. We really prefer that you send Caucasians because those are the real Americans. So I think that view has changed quite a bit, but that was like 40 years ago. So I think, the reaction in Japan towards Japanese Americans can vary, but I think the experience of Japanese Americans in Japan also vary a lot. I mean, I know Japanese Americans who really love Japan. They want to stay in Japan. They have really identified with Japan. On the other extreme, I know of some Japanese Americans who spent maybe a year or so in Japan, had really negative experiences. They say they never want to go back to Japan. So it's really quite varied.